let's start class. I don't know who else is gonna make it, but we talked about in class last time. Does anyone want to tell me, refresh me, what you remember? Doesn't matter what we talked about. What matters is what you remember. We'll keep talking about the same thing until you get it. No problem. Do you remember anything from last class?
First class conjugation.
All right, first class conjugation, very good. So those are the active verbs. First class conjugation, that's a good one. And then there's another one. There's two conjugations. Second class conjugation. Those would be the stative verbs, right? And those are similar to like adjectives, you know. They're similar, but they're not always the same. And the thing about stative verbs is they also have a tendency to show like possession. So for example, if I say something like sheruba, has anyone heard that before? No? You do a thumbs up or a thumbs down with your emotes. Sheruba, you've heard that before. What does that mean, Sash? You can type or say.
My father.
Father, my father, right? So now what does it mean if I what does it mean if I say Sherub? What did I change here? What's going on?
I do, father.
I what? I father. It means so this is something about tupi is when you see let me share my screen. We'll start the screen sharing now. Alright. So here we are. Get this, jump in there. I gotta do the setup that I always do. You jump in, you unpin that, I pin my face. Close it up, jump over here, there we go. Okay, so here we got Sheruba, which you got is my father. Good. And then the difference here is Sherub, which is, I write it like this these days. In Navajo's text, there's no difference. I'll put a space there. But me personally, I write it like this because I like to have a distinction between nouns and stative verbs, right? And so that means I have a dad. Or if you want to think of it as an adjective, I'm dadded. I'm dadded. Because I have a dad, so that means I'm dadded, you know? Eu sou paisado. It's so funny when you think about it that way. Eu sou paisado. So it means I have a dad. So something that stative verbs is they can be adjectives or they can describe things that you have, right? So you can have something when you want to say, this can be the lesson for today is how do you say I have in tupi? In tupi. Let's make this another color. Terrible. All right, great. I have in tupi. How do we say I have in tupi? That's one way is with stative verbs, right? You have Sheruba just means my dad. That's possessive, right? This shouldn't go under this. So possessives like that. But a stative verb, Sherub, is like that. So this is a lesson that we're going to learn right now in tupi is that all possessible, I don't know how to spell this, possessible, I'm going to do it with one S, possessible, It's not even really a word. All possessible nouns in tupi, so nouns that we can have. Things you can't have are like the moon, the sun, the sky, the ground. You can't have that. Some things you have to have, like hands. You have to have hands, right? Those must, you have to have those. You don't have the option to not have those. So there's possessible nouns. All possessible nouns in tupi are stative verbs, right? So this is one of the mind-bending things about tupi. Who's in here? We got two Sashas. Okay, that's fine. So this is one of the mind-bending things about tupi is that nouns are also verbs, right? And so are adjectives and so are adverbs. They're all the same class. They're all stative verbs. Everything is a stative verb that's a noun, except for non-possessible things, like trees. But grammatically, you could conceive of it. So what that looks like is if you have a stative verb that ends in a non-vowel, then you add a non-tonic A at the end, and it becomes a noun. That's it. So in reality, the root of things are verbs, not nouns. In reality, a noun is technically a suffix, right? In tupi, a noun is like you add a suffix to make it into a noun. That's it. You add an A. And some verbs, like mother, right? So this is I have a dad, right? Mother is she, su, right? So su means mother. Su. So that means I have a mother. But then when we go to write it as a noun, we don't write she sua because u is a noun. So you just leave it alone. So this is why I have a distinction between not writing a space when it's a verb, using it like a prefix, and then not, writing a space when it's a possessive. Because that allows you to see in the writing the difference, right? When it's possessive, it has a space. When it's not, it doesn't. Because otherwise, if I wrote like this, and this is how you're going to read in most texts. If you write like this, Navajo writes like this. You're going to have to figure it out based on the context, whether or not it's a noun or a stative verb. Does that make sense? So that's why I write it differently. Just to give you guys a better example. But I'll warn you, most people don't. But that's how we're going to see it. So this is my mother, right? Shesu. Shesu. And there's no difference in pronunciation. Shesu. You want to try saying that, Sash?
Shesu.
Yeah, great. You're really good at that. You got the down. It's like a mix between you have a, I, u, e, o, u. I don't know where the comes in. It's pretty funny. So
They have it in Portugal also.
Yeah, that's true. Are you Portuguese or are you Brazilian?
My mother is.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're used to her saying que instead of que.
De.
De. Sul de Portugal. Portugal. Yeah, that's true. It's funny that coincidentally Brazilian Portuguese does not have this vowel, but somehow European Portuguese evolved to have a phonetic vowel that's more similar to tupi than it is to Brazilian Portuguese. It's hilarious. It's just a coincidence, I guess. Maybe it's French influence. What do you think? I don't know why they do that.
French doesn't have it.
They don't say "oo" in French. Ooh.
No, they say "u," not "u."
Maybe it's because they were trying to do it, but they couldn't, and they just sounded more Portuguese. Who knows? Who knows how that happens? It sounds almost Slavic too, because I know the Slavic languages have it as well. So yeah, Slavic languages.
And Romanian, because they are close to Slavic people.
Yeah. They picked up on it. Yeah, so Romanian, yeah. All right, cool. So are you understanding what I'm saying here? You're picking up what I'm putting down, right? We got our stative verbs. Let's give these a different color. These will be blue. And this one's going to be the opposite. Stative verbs and possessives. Let's just say these nouns. Possessive nouns. Say it like that. Sheruba. Just like that. And yeah, that's how you got to think about it. You can turn anything into a root. So if you were to go and look in the dictionary here, let me open the dictionary, and you were to just go and look for like ruba, right? I'm gonna teach you how to find this in the dictionary. You might already know, but ruba, you're not gonna find it because it's a pluriform. So pluriforms, you have to search in the dictionary without the prefix, just the raw root, okay? And then when you look for uba, hello Mateos, you want to talk?
Hey Kian, hello everyone. Maria said she can't speak, so if she has any doubt, she said she will write in the group. So that's it. If she writes something in the group, I will tell you.
Oh, you're gonna monitor it for me? You'll be my moderator? I can't speak, I'm in class now. Wow, you're in 2 classes? Come on. You're not gonna learn anything from either of us. That's hilarious. All right, no problem. Mateos will help me out with that. All right, let's get into it. So you search, you find sheruba, tuba, suba. You know, you have, or no, suba. That's a different one. But you can see that in the dictionary, there's a bunch of different synonyms for uba. There's 4 of them here. Uba, 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 uba. And what is the difference between all of these different things? Is that this one is uba with no pluriform. So what do we say when we use the prefix? You just say she uba. That means mia kosha. She uba. Or you don't say it like that. You just say she uba. Sorry, I was putting a u. It's she uba. Like that. Nice and smooth. She uba. Mia kosha. Right? Now this one, right, is going to be sheruba. Right? Sheruba is mi apó, mi cinza. Maybe that's what you can call me when if they cremate me, right? Then I'm sheruba. My ashes. Poetic. And then here you can see that, so this one had a T here. Now this one has a T and a T, so it's a different type. So this one's also going to be sheruba, which is my dad, right? But at the same time, in the third person, it's going to just be tuba. Whereas this one, in the third person, is going to be suba. So there's very slight differences in specific cases. But I won't explain it too much more because it'll just confuse you too much. The thing I wanted to show you with this verb is that here we have pai, right? Dad, father. And then at a certain point, we get to here. We get to a place where Navajo has said that this is an adjective. Okay? Adjective, ub, rt, she. Means ter pai, to have a father. Sherub, eu tenho pai. Derub, tu tens pai. Tub, ele tem pai. Just like that. Right? So I have a dad, you have a dad, he has a dad. And he's citing this old text here, which I haven't put anything for yet. So what you'll see in Navajo's dictionary, if we just go ahead and we search for adjective in the dictionary, you'll find that so many nouns, this is a pattern that you'll see. You'll see a noun, ai bem, right? Coisa viu. And then adjective. She abai bem, anye. I'm such a sad inju. I'm such a sad man. So as you go through this, you'll see all of these are adjectives, right? You have ayereba with an A at the end, and then you have ayereb here with no A at the end. This is an adjective. Anytime he says adjective here, that is the root stative verb. It's not an adjective. He's just writing that so that people who are translating text from tupi to Portuguese can think in terms of Portuguese. But in terms of tupi, it's a stative verb. It's not an adjective. Okay? You can use it like an adjective in certain cases, but that's how I'm going to teach you, is that it's a stative verb. Okay? And so if you look through all of these different words, all of these different nouns, all of them have been registered as a noun. And then inside the noun definition, there's a description that there's an adjective version of it, right? Just like this. But it's not an adjective. You just take the A away and it's a stative verb. All right, so that's how you look for them in the dictionary. And that'll help you out a lot as you're trying to read old texts and things of that nature, right? Let's see. Go back to my text edit. Here we go. So that's how we say I have in tupi. That's how we say I have, is we use stative verbs for possessible nouns. That's how we can just say that you have it in general. That's like a general I have. That doesn't necessarily have implications for the present moment, right? I mean, it does, but it doesn't necessarily have that. There are other ways that we can say I have in tupi, which is more similar to how we would say that in English or Portuguese, in the sense that there are verbs which we can use in tupi that allow us to say I have something, like I have it with me, and you don't have to use it like a stative verb. So I want to introduce you to ereko, which means to have, okay? And this is a verb that we can use. So let's look it up here. Ereko. Ereko. Fazer estar consigo. So the way that I use this verb is ereko is an active verb, right? So I'm not describing me having something as a state. It is not my state that I have, you know, a cell phone. Maybe it is. But maybe I'm trying to let you know that the action, I'm actively holding a phone. I actively am causing something to be with me in the moment. Not like, oh, I have a familial relation, or, oh, I theoretically own a house over there, right? I don't actually have that house with me. This verb literally means to make something be with you. And that is what the verb to have means, right? When we really think about it, when I have something, what am I doing with that? What am I doing with this? I am making this cell phone be with me. I'm forcing it to be with me. I'm using my power. I'm making it be with me. This is my phone, right? And so I have my phone. So let's look at the etymology of this word real quick, because it's very interesting when we look at it. First, we want to look at the word iko. And so iko is a verb which means estar, em geral, right? Or em movimento. So it means to do something, to be. It's talking about an action. Estar in the sense of estou correndo, estou bebendo, estou falando, right? We use this with gerúndio, right? The gerund form. We use iko very often with the gerund form, just like we do in Portuguese. All right. Is Maria out of class now?
Sorry.
No problem. I thought you had a question. All right. So we use this iko with the gerúndio. This literally means estar. So let's look at this verb, iko, estar. So let me give you some examples of iko. I'm going to use this to show you I. You know, it's a diphthong. Aiko, estou. Ereiko, estás. Ore. Oops. Oiko. Ele. Eles. Elas. Ela. It. Right. And I'm using estar, right? Just because in English, there's not such a distinction between the verbs and the and like the, you know, we don't have ser and estar in English, so that's why I'm using estas right here, just so you have a better idea that it's more similar to that, to be, not like the English to be, where you can be, you know, you can't use this oiko to describe iko to describe who you are as much. Maybe there are some cases where you might. So oiko is that he is, right? And so this is a verb which means to be. Then I want to show you, in tupi we have prefixes which modify the roots, right? And so there's a very interesting one called ero. Okay? So ero is at the front of many, many verbs. Look how long this goes. Look at all these verbs. All these verbs start with ero, right? Let's look at one of them. Ero sapukai, right? Ero sapukai. Apregoar, anunciar, pregar. So sapukai means gritar, to scream. Ero sapukai means to make something scream with you, right? Something like that. Ero puta, ficar com, fazer ficar consigo, right? Puta means to ficar, to stay somewhere. To stay somewhere. Ero puta means to make something stay with you. So this is called like a causative comitive, which is basically linguistics term for to make something do something with you. Okay? So let me give you an example. So if I say ereiko, right? We already know that means like you are ereiko. You are, right? Ereiko. Let's just say something like ereiko ike. Okay? You are here. Ereiko ike. You are here. Now, let's see if we say ere reko ere, or let's do this instead. This might be easier. Let's just do ereker. You sleep. This is an easy one. So verb, this ker means to sleep. Ereker, you sleep. But then if I say oro eroker, oro eroker, then that means ishe. That means I make you sleep with me, which is like, that's a strange example now that I think about it like that. But that is you could say yeah, that's a strange one. Let's do karu. So karu is to eat, right? That's a little less strange. So if I say pe karu, that means you eat. If I say sherero, I think it's like that. Sherero karu, right? Yepe, you make me eat with you. That's the difference, right? You make me eat with you. So here, she is the object, me. Ero is this prefix, which is causative comitive, right? So I'm the object, and then yepe, you are the subject. So when you add this ero to the beginning of any verb, it means that the subject is forcing the object to perform this verb, right? The subject, I'll just write that down. I think that's a little more clear when I explain it that way. The subject is forcing, making the object do the verb that is attached to ero. Okay? So that's what ero means when you see that on a verb. So if we go back up here and we look at ereko and we look at iko, we might notice that this looks like this verb with the ero on the front of it. Yeah, go ahead, Sash.
Can I think as it were a voice?
What was that?
May I think as a voice, like
Yeah.
a passive, active,
Yeah,
it's
it's
indirect
called
voice.
it's called causative commitive. I think it's like that, causative commitive, because you're causing somebody to do an action, but you're also committing them to you. Com, right? You think of Portuguese com, commitive. Comigo, right? Causative commitive. I'm making you do it with me. We're doing it together. I'm making you join me do it. Because that's different, because there's another one called mo, and that one is only commitive. Okay? So this one is commitive. So this one, if I say, for example, if we copy this, and instead of ero, I say she mo karu yepe, that deletes this whole with you part. That just means you make me eat. So those are the two different causative voices that we have in tupi. We have mo as a prefix, and we have ero as a prefix. Mo is easier to use, and it's more general, right? And you're going to see it in a lot of verbs. For example, an easy one that I can think of is moun, right? That's an easy verb to think of, because the verb una means black, right? Just means the color black. Una, or darkness in general, black. And then if we put moun, that means to make black, right? And so tingir preto de genipapo. So this is what it means, you know, when they paint they do the face paint and the body paint with black genipapo. The verb that they would use is moun, to make black. Like I would say oro moun ishe. I am making you black. That means I'm painting you with genipapo. I am causing you to be black. Whereas if I said eroun, that would mean that I'm making you paint your, right? Like I'm making you make yourself black. Like it wouldn't make too much sense in that case, I don't think. But yeah, that's how it works. So those are the two different committed voices we have.
Join me in blackness.
Huh? Yeah. A lot of darkness. But yeah, you can use it with any verb. It's a grammatical structure, right? You can use it with any verb. You can add a mo onto anything. You can add an ero onto anything. And you can use these grammatical structures to create new words, okay? So you make me eat. You made me eat. She mo karu yepe. You make me eat with you, right? Like this is when your mom... That's a big difference, right? Like someone's forcing you to eat. Okay, someone's forcing you to eat with them. That's like what your parents do when you're a kid and you don't want to eat dinner, and they're like, "You come here and sit down and eat dinner with us." That one is ero, because you're forcing them to do it with you. So that's the difference here. So if we go back up here and we look at the verb to have, we notice that it's a slightly different form. It's ere, it's not ero, but that's just because this is such an old word. It's already suffered some phonetic differences, and there's the difference between iko and all that. But essentially, what this is just ero, right, plus iko, right? And that means to make something be with you. With not you, but oneself, right? That's a better third person to use in English, generic third person. So to make something be with oneself. That's what it means, because this is to be, iko, to be, estar, and this is to make someone do something with you. So eroiko, ereko. Ereko means to make something do something with you. to have it, right? So does that make sense to everybody? The logic behind the etymology of that word? Because sometimes I feel like when I think like, oh, to have in English and haver in Portuguese and ter, these are very like abstract words. But we see with this tupi word, as old as it is, as little information about the language that we have compared to Latin and Greek, we can still dissect the etymology of such a basic word like to have, and we can make sense of it. It's very beautiful, I think, because we can say, oh, there's some logic to this, right? It's not like they just came up with these sounds and decided to associate them like some of the sounds were, but this has grammar, right? Such a basic word, it has grammar all up inside of it. So it's fun to look at these things. I'm sure they never thought of those things, but it's the kind of thing that a native speaker wouldn't think about. But we who study these languages have to spend a lot of time. So ereko means to have. So when we want to conjugate this, it follows the same patterns as all these ero. Ero is a pluriform verb, but it has a special conjugation pattern. It's not too easy to know it. So it's best. I don't know. Yeah, it's best if you look at it based on my conjugation guide here. When you use my dictionary, there's this little toggle right here. Okay, it's right on the screen. You just click on it, and when you click on that toggle, it either makes the conjugation show or not. Some people don't like seeing it. They think it clutters it. But I love seeing the conjugations. You can look at all the different kind of conjugations. You can negate them and all that. So this is the basic way of saying I have something. Ishe areko. Ende erereko. Ae oereko. Ore oroereko. Yande yareko. Pe pereko. Right? And so all of these are transitive verbs. The second you put mo onto a verb or ero, either of these prefixes, when you put it onto an intransitive verb or an intransitive root, whether it's first class or second class, it doesn't matter. They can be first class or second class. You put that mo in front or the ero in front, and suddenly that ero or that mo becomes a transitive first class verb, right? The ero becomes pluriform, the mo doesn't. Okay? So this is one way to convert transitive verbs into intransitive verbs, is by putting the mo on front. Like if I want to say nyeeng, if I want to say make him speak, right? I can say e monyeeng, kurumi, e monyeeng. Make that kid speak, right? E mo nyeeng. I'm telling you to make him speak. Hope that makes sense. So that's how you use it. Areko, ishe areko. So let's try to construct some phrases here. I'm gonna leave this. This is the column you want to look at, this I column here. This is the third person. That's the most common one that we use, is when I say I have this, right? Because it's not very common that I say like I have you or you have me, in the sense of like, maybe if we hug each other, then that is areko, right? That is oroereko. But that's the only case I can think of. So most of the time that you use this verb, you're going to use it in the third person, okay? With a third person object. So let's practice this a little bit. So if I want to say, for example, Sash, if I want to say, I have a cell phone. How might you be able to say that in tupi? And your cell phone, you could just call it celular. Celular.
Celular areko.
Perfect. Celular areko. And if you want, you could say areko celular. All right, you could put it at the end if you want, or you could say ishe areko celular or ishe celular areko. Those are the 4 options. There's no other ways to say it. All right. Let's see. I don't know if you can speak now, Maria, but if you want, you can type it into the chat, and Mateos will read it for you. But tell me, how might I say, or let's say you have a rock, singular. You have a rock, right? And rock is ita. Ita. You have a rock. Ita. Let me go back here. Let's see. Let's see if we get it in the chat. Actually, maybe I should keep it here so you can see. This one. You have a rock. Let's try that. She's also in another class, so maybe potentially not best to call on her. I'll call on Gustavo instead. Gustavo, how do you say you have a rock?
Ende ita erereko.
Ende ita erereko. Perfect. Ende ita erereko. All right, seems like you guys get that. So those are the 2 different ways that we can use to have in tupi. We have our possessive nouns, sheruba. I'm talking about my dad. I can say sherub, I have a dad. And if I was forcing my dad to live with me, like a strange slave sort of situation, then I would say areko sheruba. I have my dad. Sounds like I have him. He's in my custody. You know, that's what it sounds like when you use this verb with people. You're in my custody. You're with me. I'm forcing you. You're here. You gotta go with me. It's like,
It really seems like the situation.
yeah, it's like when you call someone querido. E aí, querido? You're calling them wanted. In English, that means that, ooh, you're wanted. Someone's trying to arrest you. That's not good. He's querido pela lei. All right, so we got 20 minutes left. Are there? I told you guys a lot of different things. Do you guys have any curiosities about how some of this stuff might work, or something that I might have written incorrectly that needs to be corrected, or something like that? A lot of interesting things about tupi. I talked to Navajo today about 10 minutes before this class started. And we're going to have a class at 8 a.m. at USP in Fifeleshi, the Letras building, starting this Friday. Yeah. The 8th. 2 days from now. Tuesday. Wait. The 8th is... What day is the 8th? You guys know? The 8th is a Thursday. He said no, that's the 9th. So Friday the 9th, if you guys want to come, we're going to have a class about tupi in English. It's literally this class, and I'm going to be teaching it, and Navajo is going to be sitting in the background. I know that probably none of you live in São Paulo, but if one of you lives in São Paulo, then you're welcome to come for free. It's at 8 a.m. But yeah, message me if you want it. So
Which room?
I don't know yet. I think the way that it works is you just kind of find the room on the first day, and then that becomes your room, or it gets assigned. I just ask the security guard. Once you get into the Letras building, the security guard has a list with all the different rooms, so you would just look for like the... I don't even know what it's called. Navajo told me like what it... I was like begging him like, please, what is this class going to be about? And he's like, oh, just indigenous languages in Brazil. That's it. That's all he told me. He told me that I'm teaching it. So I got to prepare the classes. I got to prepare the lessons. I got 30 students, and they're forced to listen to me, not like you guys. You guys are here on your own will. Nobody's forced here to listen to me. So we got to make sure that my material's up to date, tip-top shape. There was an error I had written in here about the Marquise du Pombal, which I think I corrected it. I think for the most part it's ready. A lot of people have been reading this, but yeah, the idea is that we talk about the fact that the Tupian language family is so big, you know, and it has so many different things. We talk about Anchieta coming in. You guys have already heard all this spiel, so I won't get into it too much, but if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. I feel like I might have gone through them a little bit quickly because I spent so much time talking about this stuff. Like, I think a lot of the information, like, I just assume it's common knowledge when in reality it's just really not. It's just edgelord stuff. So let's go to the quiz. That's how I like to end out these classes. We talked enough about stative verbs. Let's play a game now. I love doing the quiz. Here it is. All right. Indicative. Let's start out easy. Have you played this yet, Sash?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, let me show you how it works. So in tupi, verbs have a very regular structure. There are some verbs that are irregular. And those are the verbs that we use the most often. Inconvenient. But I somehow have gotten by without studying those too hard. Eventually I will, and you guys will reap the benefits of my studying materials once I materialize something that you can actually read about the irregular verbs. But for now, it's a dark spot in my knowledge. Mateos knows more about it, so you can ask him. But when it comes to regular verbs, I know everything about regular verbs. I'm the master at regular verbs, and it's all because I created this quiz. This quiz single-handedly drilled all of the intuitive rules about regular verbs into my brain, so I didn't have to learn them. I mean, I did have to kind of learn them to write the code, but then I forgot. But by doing this quiz, I remembered. So the way it works is it just grabs a random verb dictionary entry from the dictionary, and then it conjugates it randomly using my code that I'm writing for my master's project. And using the result of that, it asks you to try and guess what the structure is. And then you guess and you get points when you get it right. And then at the end, it shows you what's the right answer, and it also shows you the definition so that you can see the word in action, see how the word actually works. So it's passively teaching you vocabulary. That's not the point. It's trying to expose you to vocabulary. But the point is to actively teach you subliminally the structure of the language without having to actually describe all of these rules to you, okay? So I highly recommend you spend, you know, your free time when you're playing games or Duolingo or something like that. Don't do Duolingo. This will teach you Tupi in, like, if you do this for at least 3 hours consistently, like 3 hours straight, for the rest of your life, you will have a good idea of the verbs. Like, it really doesn't take that much time, trust me. It's like a one and done sort of deal. I don't play this that often anymore. But yeah, it grabs the verb from the dictionary and then it conjugates it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and you can enable more levels to it. But for right now, indicative is just the only one that's important. So, Gustavo, you wanna start us off? You're like a veteran when it comes to this game.
Okay, so the subject is ishe,
Ishe, that's the subject.
and the object is the third person for all inclusive is yende.
Yande?
Yende.
Yande?
Oh my god, am I wrong?
Ba-ba.
I was wrong.
The object is yeah. Yande itself is always gonna look like ya. This one's yeah. Maybe my screen is too small. Is that better?
I was reading it wrong. Actually,
I think you didn't actually get that wrong. I think you just couldn't read it well. It's my.
I wrote it wrong on the paper, so yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah, that was nyembuk. Anyenye embuk. So this is nyeeng, which means palavra or to speak, and then puk, which I guess is entalar, right? Deixar sem palavras. She anye embuk ahe. Somebody left me without words. That's a new word. I never seen that word before. There's so many words in the dictionary. It's hard to study them all. So it's nice to play this. And if you click on this, it'll search for that word in the dictionary. And you can see it in the dictionary with all the different conjugations in case you're curious. What does that conjugation look like? What does this one look like? It's a very useful little quiz. All right, next one. Let's see. Sash, have you studied any verb conjugation yet, or are you completely new to this?
I can try.
All right, let's try. What's the subject? Here's your options.
Ore monyu wasem yepe.
Perfect. You speak very well. Ore munyenguasem y yepe.
Ore
Ore.
Is this the more you've been talking about?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is a good job. You can tell that that's part of the root, right? That's not part of the conjugation. That's part of the verb. Because there's a mo there. Mo is always a part of the root. And it's, yeah.
So,
there you go.
So, making us do something?
Yes! Wow, look at you. Who's making you do something? Who's making us do something?
Yepe. They?
Yeah. Well,
Are
yepe is not the.
making
You've probably
us-
never seen this, but yepe is ende. I'll just give you that one. So the subject is this one. Very good. You had the intuition to say, okay, if that's the root, then the thing directly to the left of the root must be the object, right? Ore. They're making us, right? So yeah, the object is ore. Yeah. So you are making us nieguasem. So what does that mean? What does nieguasem mean? Fugir. Nieguasem. Fugir. So fazer fugir. Monyenguasem. Monyenguasem. Great. To make somebody fugir. Ore monyenguasem yepe. And so yeah, when the object is first person and the second person is the subject, it takes this form of yepe. And it always goes after the verb. You'll learn that if you just do this quiz, you'll just learn that. You won't even know that you know it. You'll just learn it. All right, let's try this one, Gustavo.
Okay, so indicatives. So the subject is ore and oppo. I just forgot what oppo.
You forgot oppo?
Oppo.
Here's my trick. When you're looking at one of these prefixes, anytime there's a P in it,
Anytime there's a P in it, it is pe.
yeah, exactly. If there's a
I
P, except for yepe, right? It has to start with a P. It has to have
Yeah,
a P at
but
the beginning.
There's pe. So pe is obviously.
Peyepe is the pe and yepe is the ende. That one has a P, but it's in the end. But yeah, oppo is the pe, and what would the singular version of that be?
The singular version
Of oppo.
Opo. Oh my god, I know there's a different version of it, but
Yeah, because that one's pe.
yeah, pe is plural.
Yeah, it's
But-
opo and oro. So with an R, it's singular, like ere. Ere, oro, pe, opo. That's how I think of it. Because the ere
Okay.
has an R and it's also ende. Whereas the pe has a P and it's also pe. So pe, opo, ere, oro. That's how I think about it.
Okay,
All right.
taken quickly.
Embueituk. 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 Shira embueituk. Opo embueituk ore. Mergulhar os ramos. What does that mean? Ao porcar. You guys know what this means? Vimes de uma planta para a reproduzir. What does this mean? Like to plant? To plant, like to stick a stick in the ground?
Parece tirar uma mudinha. Seems like they're just taking a snap of the plant to reproduce it.
So to clone? Is this like cloning?
Yeah, basically cloning. Wow.
Wow.
That's actually
Advanced.
incredible.
Yeah. Embueituk. They have a verb for cloning. That's pretty cool. It's in the VLB. Let's take a look real quick. How does the VLB define it? So we look in the dictionary. Go right here. Let's look for it. So it's probably alporcar. Como amendoins. Assembleituk. Yeah, there it is. Assembleituk. You guys see that? I can't make it bigger. It doesn't want to get bigger. Alright, never mind. Assembleituk. Cool. Okay. That's a new word for us. Alright, we got two more. Let's see what our score can be. Your turn, Sash.
De Piapaçamoim a E.
De
So
Puapuçamoim.
the subject is a E. And the object ende.
Very good, very good. Puapaçamoim. Puapaçamoim. Ai Puapaçamoim. Ferrar. Okay. All right. Then Puapaçamoim a E. Very interesting. So moing is por. This is another verb, means to like colocar, por, to put something. Moing. Ai moing she serura tabera me. Tabera pe. I'm putting my cell phone on the table. Ai moing she serura. So this is saying pua pasa ferradura moing, to put a hole. Moin. And if you look at mo, you'll notice that mo is the causative, right? So in must be another verb. In is a verb. In is a verb which, just like oiko, it means estar. But it means estar sem movimento, to be still. So unlike Portuguese, tupi has different degrees of estar. There's different verbs which you can use in the place of estar, which indicate different degrees of movement or positions of your body. So I can have estar, you can have to be estar em pé, estar deitado, estar movimentado, estar em geral, estar quieto. So moin means to put something still, to make something be somewhere still, you know. Interesting. All right, last question, and then you guys are free. Take it away, Gustavo.
So, indicative, the subject is a e.
e.
The object is ya.
Ya.
Nde.
Yande a e o Yande a e Yande a o a e. That's kind of a tongue twister. Yande a o a e. Yande a o a e. Yande a o a e. Injuriar. Desonrar com palavras. Insultar. Ah, oh. Yande a o a e. That's what you run up with your brothers and sisters to your mom. You cry and you point to the other kids and you say, Yande a o a e. They're bullying us. I try to think like that, right? I try to make a picture in my head so that I remember the word. Like, helps me like create a scene. Try to imagine this word being used. Yande a o a e. They're being mean to us. All right, that's it. 14 out of 15. That's pretty good. You guys are pretty good. And I think that first mess up was that was not a real mess up. So in my heart, it was a 15 out of 15. But yeah, keep going with that. I think you guys are lucky because, like, for example, whoever was learning this earlier, there was a space here. So Gustavo, you learned it with a space. Recently, I fixed my orthography and stuck everything together. So now it's really easy to tell what's the subject and what's the object. But before there was a space and it was a little bit more difficult. I think it made it more confusing. So just remember, the object is going to be stuck to the verb unless there's a referential object in there. Asterisk. There's always an asterisk in linguistics. And there is always an asterisk to the asterisk. Like sometimes the referential thing is gone. You don't even know what I'm saying. But basically, when you have a verb like munyang, which is transitive, technically you should write I munyang, but Anchieta recorded that it was common to do amonyang, and if it started with an M. So if the verb starts with an M, you don't actually have to write that, and that's just a phonetic thing. So yeah, there's always going to be an asterisk, but don't worry about those too much because that just makes things more difficult. All right, have a wonderful week. I'll see you on Friday. Ciao, valeu, falou, ne'in.
Thanks, Ken. Bye.